Liking yourself more, like I said, we encounter all the things we don't like. And I said we have to be gentle and kind with ourselves. I talked last time about being kind and how we might generate a bigger field of kindness towards ourselves and towards others. I'd like to talk a little bit now about being gentle with ourselves and what that means. If you think about it, what does that mean, be gentle with yourself? How do you pursue being gentle? Well, one way we can do it is through our hands and through our touch and through the way we move ourselves and use our bodies. So I'll give you an example. I have a friend, I was sitting with him and he had some pain in his neck. And he started doing these kind of ratchety movements like this and going back and forth like this. And I thought, whoa, wow. And I thought, interesting. I said, so what happens if you do less and make it smaller? And be gentler with yourself. Did you know that there's something called the Weber-Fechner law? It's a psychophysical law that describes the relationship between stimulus and sensitivity. It goes something like this. They've done the experiments for light, sound, and weight and pressure. And the ratios have changed over the years, and there's Stevens' power law, which is algorithms, but the basic idea is the same. And that is, with a decrease in stimulus, there's an increase in sensitivity. That means that, for example, the ratios they came up with for weight and pressure were 1 to 40. So if I had a backpack on and you added half a pound, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference because it's less than 1/40th of the weight that's on my back. But if you added a pound, I might be able to feel the difference. And so now if we translate that into an action or a movement, if I do a big movement like this, 1/40th of this is somewhere in here. But if I do a movement like this, 1/40th is a much smaller distinction. So I'm more likely to be more sensitive to myself when I'm actually gentler with myself, when I make my movements smaller and easier. So what are some of the ways that you can do it? Well, when you're driving your car, how hard do you grip the wheel? Think about it. A lot of people grip the wheel really tightly. Or when you brush your teeth or shave or put on makeup, how much force do you use with your hands? I'm going to talk about something that's a little bizarre, but it's a really fundamental example of what this means. Okay? My teacher, Dr. Feldenkrais, talked once, unless you change the way that you clean yourself in the bathroom, nothing really changes. Well, you think, well, what kind of crazy idea is that? But then you have to pose the question, okay, this is weird, I know it, but how much force do you use when you clean yourself in the toilet? And where did you learn that? Well, there's a fair chance that the way you learned that was because of the way you were cleaned when you were an infant, and you began to associate a certain type of pressure with being cleaned. Which means then that the person who did that to you learned it from the person who did that to them to the person who did that to them. So it's your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother's fault that we use more force than we need to when we clean ourselves. So see if you can find a place. You can do it in the toilet. I'm making a joke, but I'm serious at the same time. But maybe you can find a place where you're gentler. You touch things more gently. You actually hold things and see, do I need to use as much force? And again, by practicing this in movement, it's one of the ways that it changes how we think and how we feel and sense ourselves in the world. And again, leading us to a much, much greater chance of liking yourself more and more and more.